Action movies in the 70s weren't meant to be blockbusters with billion-dollar budgets. They were raw, weird, and so cursed that Hollywood tried to bury them on purpose. Here are some of the hidden action gems that flopped back in the day. Back in the 70s, revenge movies did not hold back. They didn't need capes, they just needed trauma and a shotgun to go with it. Rolling Thunder was that kind of movie. William Devane played a Vietnamese prisoner of war who comes home to a parade, a handshake, and a suitcase full of silver dollars. The catch? He loses everything when some lowlifes break in, murder his family, and slash off his hand. And what does he do? He gets a hook for a hand and plans a payback. I remember watching this classic recently and thinking, why the hell isn't this movie more famous? It had Devane's quiet menace, a young Tommy Lee Jones stealing every scene he's in, and a final shootout that felt like a western in a Texas whorehouse. But Hollywood didn't know what to do with it. The violence was brutal, even for the 70s. The hero wasn't heroic. He was cold, broken, and clearly beyond saving. Studios panicked. Some theaters refused to show it. It got chopped up, dumped in limited release, and buried under safer, more crowd-pleasing movies. It was too dark, too raw, and too real for the time. Now, it lives in a cult classic status. But for those of you who caught it back then, Rolling Thunder wasn't just a revenge movie. It was a warning. Don't mess with a man who's already lost everything. Basically setting the stage for John Wick, if you may. And remember when crime movies didn't glamorize criminals? The Friends of Eddie Coyle is that kind of movie. Robert Mitchum plays Eddie, a small-time gun runner just trying to stay out of jail long enough to breathe. He's not slick, he's not cool, he's just old, bitter, and slowly running out of people to trust. I remember watching it on a rainy afternoon, one of those gray nothing-to-do days, and it just hit me. No car chases, no heroic speeches, just slow burning dread and conversations. Mitchum barely moves in some scenes, but you feel every mile in his bones. And that's probably why studios didn't push it. There were no explosions, no clear good guys, just a man getting ground up by a system that doesn't care if you're loyal or not. Hollywood wanted wisecracking gangsters with flashy shootouts. Eddie Coyle gave them a sad old man in a bad coat, trying to make one last deal and getting crushed anyway. It was too bleak, too quiet. It didn't test well. They gave it a half-hearted release and let it fade. But for people like me who found it tucked between blockbusters, it stuck. Also, action movies back then didn't have superheroes smashing cities or flying through the sky. It was 4 desperate men hauling unstable dynamite through a South American jungle in trucks that looked like they'd fall apart if you sneezed near them. That was Sorcerer, William Friedkin's chaotic, gasoline-soaked follow-up to The Exorcist. And no, despite the title, there's zero wizardry involved. It's not about spells, it's about sweat, it's about dread, and it's about pure chest-tightening tension that makes your palm sweats from just watching. Craving more forgotten gems and cinematic gut punches like this? Slam that like button and subscribe, because algorithms might be soulless, but at least they know you've got good taste. You had a very sweaty Roy Scheider as the lead, clinging to survival. The story follows a group of ex-criminals hiding from their past lives, forced to transport nitroglycerin across some of the most brutal terrain ever put on film. And I mean brutal. That one scene where they're crossing a collapsing rope bridge in the rain? I still grip the armrest just thinking about it. The trucks felt alive and angry too, ready to explode at the slightest mistake. But the movie bombed. Why? Bad timing for one. It opened 1 month after Star Wars. It's like trying to play jazz while a marching band tramples you. Audiences didn't want grimy men sweating in trucks. They wanted laser swords and space dogfights. And to be fair, Sorcerer didn't make it easy. It was slow, quiet, full of dread, and barely explained anything. Studios buried it, and critics were confused. The title didn't help either, but Sorcerer is a masterclass in dread. I remember stumbling across the outfit on late night TV. I was half asleep and then suddenly wide awake. No, it wasn't a big explosion, no catchy one-liners either, just cold-blooded revenge. Based on Donald Westlake Parker's novels, it starred Robert Duvall as a career criminal fresh out of prison, looking to settle a score with the syndicate that killed his brother. And when I say settle, I mean he robs them, piece by piece, until they've got nothing left. Duvall was incredible in this. No shouting, no grand speeches, just a man quietly tearing an empire down with a handgun and a plan. Joe Don Barker plays his partner, bringing some cowboy swagger to the mix. But this wasn't a buddy movie. It was lean, mean, and totally unglamorous. So why did it vanish? Because it wasn't flashy. It was too cold, too methodical. The outfit didn't give anyone for you to cheer for, just a blunt object of a story, hammering its way to the end. No music montages, no redemption arc, just justice with a loaded gun and zero apologies. Hollywood shelved it quietly, barely promoted it. You won't see posters of the outfit in retro shops, but it's one of those films that make you realize how soft modern crime stories have become. Today, your average heist crew has snappy dialogue and matching outfits. We're looking at you, Money Heist. But back then, you got in and you got out without getting shot. Okay, this one didn't get a proper release until the late 80s, but it feels like pure 70s madness. Imagine if the Warriors and First Blood had a backyard baby and filmed it on a shaky camcorder. That's Deadbeat at Dawn. Jim Van Bever did everything. He directed it, he wrote it, and starred in it. The guy didn't just wear all the hats, he stapled them together. He plays Goose, a gang leader who tries to quit the life after his girlfriend is killed. But yeah, peace doesn't last. He snaps and goes full revenge mode. There's nunchucks, knives, and fists. I mean, what more could you want? The fights look way too real. Probably because they were. He even jumps off a parking garage, for real. No stunt team, no budget, just pure adrenaline. So why did Hollywood ignore it? Because it was rough. You see that pattern throughout this video, right? There were no big names and no happy endings. It wasn't the kind of movie that you could easily market. The editing is messy, the dialogue is rough, and the violence is brutal. But it hits harder than most action flicks that cost 100 times more. And let's face it, Hollywood likes its rebels clean and charming. Van Bever wasn't that. He made a movie that screamed in your face and dared you to keep watching. Okay, here's one movie that had everything going for it. A tight script, clever twists, and a killer performance from Elliot Gould, who plays a quiet, awkward bank teller. Then there's Christopher Plummer. Yeah, the Sound of Music guy, except here, he's a sadistic cross-dressing bank robber who slices people open like it's his hobby. Yep, we're talking about The Silent Partner. You want to talk cursed? This movie feels cursed because it lures you in with a calm jazz and office scenes, then hits you with absolute savagery. I remember watching it thinking that it'd be a slow crime drama. 10 minutes later, a fish tank gets smashed, a guy is bleeding everywhere, and someone's hidden stolen cash inside of a lunchbox. It flips so fast it gives you whiplash. So why did Hollywood bury it? Because it was too smart and too mean. The good guy doesn't play fair. The bad guy is genuinely terrifying. And the tone? It's all over the place, in the best way. But studios didn't know how to sell that. They couldn't slap a tagline on it. It wasn't sexy enough to be a thriller, and not violent enough to be a horror, and too twisted to be a mainstream hit. Plus, Plummer plays a terrifying violent criminal in Drag in 1978. That alone probably made studio execs sweat through their suits. Too edgy, too ahead of its time. The Silent Partner is a hidden gem, and definitely one of the best buried thrillers of that era. The Driver was the movie that basically speedwalked so Drive, that came out in 2011, could run. Directed by Walter Hill, this film was all vibes and no fluff. Ryan O'Neal plays a getaway driver with no name, no backstory, and barely any lines. The plot? A cat and mouse game between him and a cop who's obsessed with catching him. That's it. No side missions, no flashbacks, just a lot of chasing. I remember the first time I saw it, I couldn't tell if I was bored or hypnotized. The car chases were loud and beautiful. It felt like a crime dream that never fully woke up. Obviously, a movie like this wouldn't work in the 70s because in 1978, people wanted big explosions and wisecracks. The Driver was too cold, too quiet, too artsy. It wasn't fun. And just like its main character, it disappeared into the shadows. Which of these cursed 70s action films shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this chaos, like and share. Did you miss our deep dive into 90s sci-fi flops? It's weirder than you think. And of course, make sure you subscribe for more.